Alright everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets that we have for this Thursday night showdown between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as always, I like to start off with a quick game preview for this game. It does have kind of a normal over and under. To me, this doesn't dictate whether or not we want to be chasing more of over bets or under bets for a specific team. Basically, what I'm seeing with the total and also the game spread is that basically whichever bets you see fit are probably going to be good bets, okay? Because there isn't a specific game script where we have to design bet slips around. Now, in regards to kind of betting on this game, I would say the best opportunity to bet on this game would be the Cardinals to win, like on a site like DraftKings or Bovada, where again, like decent odds there. Bovada has it at plus 110. If you think they're going to win, that's not a terrible route to go. But other than that, I do think that this game is going to be much more of a toss up there as well. So for me, I am just going to be targeting players that I think are going to be in good spots that have a good chance to deliver good results for us. Now, it is worth calling out in this game as well. Zach Charbonnet is going to be back and active in this one. So the question is, how much of a workload will he get? To me, I'm expecting him to get around 35 to like 45% of the running back snaps. So to me, I actually think Kenneth Walker probably going to get closer to 65% of the snaps. And that is a very clear distinction that we need to make, because if we see some of the lines that we're getting for him, they are either way too high or way too low, depending on the workload that you think he's going to get. Now, I thought he looked really good 2 weeks ago, and last week, some people are going to see the stats that he had and really not like them. He got 2 goal line carries as touchdowns, which yards per carry wise and just yards wise are going to keep it down. He did have 17 out of the first 18 running back opportunities in that game with Zach Charbonnet out, and look good doing it. And to me, he is a very talented running back. I want to be betting on him to get some of the overs because I think we're going to get some decent edges there. But as it currently sits right now, based off of the PrizePicks board, underdog board, we're really not getting that many good bets, because if you look at this kind of rushing yards prop bet that we have, the Cardinals have actually been surprisingly good against opposing running backs in regards to stopping them via the run game. They're like bottom 8 in the league. And so very difficult matchup there rushing the football wise. But on the flip side of that, they have given up a lot of production to opposing running backs in the passing game as well. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys this kind of new tool that I have available for you guys right now, NFL betting tool. That's for 9 to 5 members only, guys. It is still a work in progress, but it's good enough along the way where you guys can still use it to get the best bets. Like for now, if we're looking at like Kenneth Walker, any bets that we want to place based off of him, you would see, on FanDuel right now, you could be told to bet on his under 14.5 rush attempts. That's actually a decent bet across the board in this one. But what I want to do is find like the best bet that we could be on for his over potentially. And we're going to see FanDuel has him at 66.5 rush and receiving yards here on FanDuel. Okay, they're giving him about a 50.8% edge based off of their odds, which I'm not showing here. Again, work in price. I probably will start showing the odds for this bet as well. But if you were to place this bet, you'd be losing about 3.5% edge on that bet compared to the FanDuel line. Anyways, the point being is that if we're looking for a bet for him, to me, this tells me that they're really not giving him that much of a likelihood to have a big game in the receiving department, right? If they'd given us his line at about 53.5 for his rush yards, that's only 13.5 for his receiving yards. And given the matchup with the Cardinals, that is something that I would be wanting to bet the over on there for him. Okay, the Cardinals actually are 28th in the league in terms of receiving yards given up to opposing running backs, giving up 20 receptions and 152 receiving yards. So again, for Kenneth Walker to get involved in the receiving game, that wouldn't be too crazy. Okay, he has gotten a target in every game thus far, 12, 13, and 4 receptions. Okay, so not great there. But again, that is the spot where you would choose to target this defense with the Cardinals. And you see these leads, why would they throw the football to Kenneth Walker in those 2 games? Now, another player that got a lot more work last week was Torrey Holton, the rookie receiver. Okay, he's actually been someone that's been kind of balling out thus far this year for them when you include the preseason there as well. So it is worth calling out. Horton ended up getting only 48% of the snaps last week, but that being said, Cooper Kupp 56, JSN 50. Okay, so obviously that tells us really what we need to know there. He ended up with a 76% route share, which was the same as Cooper Kupp and JSN. So the point being, he played when we wanted him to play. And if they're going to run out a bunch of 11 personnel, which they didn't really do, okay, last week, you would expect that to kind of be corrected. They kind of did a mix and match, guys. 30%, 11 personnel, 12 personnel was 24%, 21 personnel, 22%, and 22 personnel, 11%. So I see that as more of game script wise why they did that. And if this game ends up being a close game where they're probably going to be more in 11 personnel, then Torrey Holt is someone that we probably should be betting on. Now, originally I was thinking we could bet on him to get over 1.5 receptions, even though that was a goblin bet. But when we go ahead and take a peek at the 9-to-5 PrizePicks cheat sheet, we're actually going to see one of the best bets on the board is going to be Horton to get over 5 for his fantasy score. Okay, so the issue that we have here is that he is highly likely to get 2 receptions. It's basically it. Will he get over that? Probably not. There's like a 60% edge that he does not get over 2 receptions. That being said, this is still probably, to me, a little bit too low of a line. Okay, now when we look at the rest of the lines that we're getting for him, we're getting 25.5 for his receiving yards. So even if he gets that, what they're counting for a 5-yard difference in regards to his fantasy score. So 25.5 receiving yards, 2 receptions, that's 4.5 for his fantasy score. Doesn't need that much more to get his over 5 for his fantasy score, which he was able to do last week, obviously having a good game. And if this game stays close, I do expect him to be able to get that over. It's not foolproof, but you guys kind of get the point there. We have another good bet in this game for the Seahawks as well. That's actually AJ Barner to get over 4 for his fantasy score. This is one of those bets that is a clear edge to us. Average sportsbook line has it at 5.2 though. Okay, so that's kind of the issue when we had these small lines is really the production needs to be there for him, obviously. And he is playing a decent amount. The question becomes, are we going to start to see the rookie tight end play more and more and more? And that is a little bit of a concern. Okay, so far this season, guys, AJ Barner's seen 84%, 89%, and then 52 last week. 52 last week, I think, again, was due to the blowout. And so if we're kind of looking at his lines, it does make sense to bet his over, again, in a game that's expected to be close and really not a game script type of game where it's going to be in like a game in which you're going to throw it and run the football at a more normal, expectable rate. And so then AJ Barner becomes a decent pick. And let's just go ahead and stick with the board in regards to the best bets that we were getting. We're actually getting Trey Benson for under his fantasy score of 15 as one of the better bets. Now, the biggest question mark that we have here is, are they actually going to limit his workload in this game, or is he going to be a workhorse running back in this game with James Conner out? Because they were kind of doing our running back by committee between him and James Conner. Now, here's a good stat of kind of showing us what happened with after James Conner left the field. Trey Benson saw 87% of the snaps, 71% of the attempts, and 50% of the routes. The routes is interesting. If the Seahawks are going to be the team that wins this game, maybe wins this game by a decent amount, they could maybe go to Amari DiMercado a decent amount. But based off of this, it actually does point to Trey Benson being more of a workhorse running back. And if we just look at kind of his total yards here, guys, it is at 85.5 rushing receiving yards. And then you tack on, let's just say 3 receptions there. He's only at 11 for his fantasy score. That is not much. And so they are banking on him scoring a touchdown in this game, which if you think he's going to get over 15 for his fantasy score, guys, you might as well just bet on him to score a rushing touchdown in this game. That is basically the bet that you're telling the data that you want to get to. Now, it is worth calling out here, guys. Another interesting bet that we could be on for Trey Benson is actually going to be in the receiving department. Okay. And so the reason why is because you look at the Seahawks, they have given up just a lot of production to opposing running backs thus far this year, but they've actually given up the most in regards to receiving yards, 234 to opposing running backs and 22 receptions as well, which is the second most in the league. And so basically, if this game stays close and Trey Benson even gets the same workload that he got, this ends up being a pretty low line. And if we look at kind of what he's been able to do, even with James Conner on the field, like the targets are definitely encouraging in regards to those bets that we can be on him for there. And so if you just want to bet on him to get 3 receptions, I'm fine with that. And so let's just go ahead and take a peek at some of the bets that we are getting for him just in general. In regards to, let's go with receptions first across the board, just all the sports books. So yeah, most of them are going to heavily favor the under at 3.5. I actually think we could get to the over there. Okay, so we're looking at the projection data here, the projection column here, guys. 3.15. Okay, so not terrible. And just as an FYI as well, again, I'm going to hopefully have a video up about kind of how to use this properly. The true point is how that sportsbook is valuing them based off of their odds. Okay, so like DraftKings is saying he really only has a line of 3.48, whereas the projection data is going to be 3.1 across the board, just as an FYI. So I do think there's a good chance that that ends up hitting the over. And the color coding here right now is showing you guys red means we're betting the under. Sorry, the red color shading here indicates a bad bet. The green indicates a good bet. And then we have the tag of what the good bet is. So under 3.5 receptions on Novig or Fliff would be the good bet there. But we can see why PrizePicks has this at 2.5 because he's heavily likely to get the 3 receptions. And so I think I'm okay getting to that. Now let's go ahead and take a peek at his receiving yards. We're getting a bunch of sites that are giving him at 17.5. At 19.5, it's probably the correct line. But we are seeing some give us 21.5, so very interesting there. And again, you look at the projection data, he's closer to 22.7. And so to me, we should be looking at some of those bets where we could get to his over. And so obviously, this video skews more towards PrizePicks and Underdog. So let's just try to take a peek at those bets that we are getting for those books. So Underdog we'll take a peek at. They have him at 21.5, so I'm happy to bet the over there. Pick 6 as well, same stuff, 21.5 there as well. And we'll take a peek at PrizePicks 22.5. So we wouldn't bet it there on PrizePicks. We would choose between like pick 6 or Underdog guys there instead. So decent edges there for Trey Benson for over his receiving yards. And I will say, in a weird way, those bets can both hit. Okay, so we're betting on him to get over 21.5 receiving yards. Great. He still probably needs a touchdown to get that over. So again, if you think he's going to have a good game and you don't want to bet his under fantasy score, either do the receiving yards or do his over anytime touchdowns. That would be the way to go. And I don't hate that bet, just as FYI, like you can get there. And then another player that's actually getting a very good matchup is going to be the tight end, Trey McBride. Okay, so Trey McBride, guys, gets a matchup where the opponent has given up 8 receptions per game and 60 receiving yards per game as well. Then you just factor in the fact that McBride is arguably, if not the best tight end in the league, and we're getting him at only a 4.5 yards increase from the average given up for the Seahawks, and a 0.5 reception increase from, decrease. They're giving us a 1.5 decrease in regards to the average receptions given up to opposing tight ends. To me, that's a little bit crazy. We know that Trey McBride is going to get a healthy workload in this game, and it just comes down to which side you want to be on. Now, I will say, I do think the lines for him are actually basically correct across the board, which is something I don't necessarily love, but I do find it interesting that his fantasy score is only at 15 because he is someone that will be involved in the passing game. We know that maybe if he doesn't get his over receptions or doesn't get his over receiving yards, I do think he has a decent chance to score a touchdown. I don't know. He could have a massive game. It's just how does he do it is my question. I think the game plan is going to be around him. Overall, I don't know if we necessarily have a big enough edge though right now to go in on him. I would almost rather bet on something like this is over 79.5 receiving yards. Just bet on him having a big game there. I'd rather take the increased payout due to less likely odds and just bet on the matchup being good and him just having a massive game. That'd be the approach I'd rather go with the most. And so we do have another decent bet here, guys, and it's actually Michael Wilson to get over 5.5 for his fantasy score. And it just really comes down to whether or not you think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to continue to struggle, because if you do, then this actually ends up being a decent bet, again, in a decent matchup there against the Seahawks. Not necessarily a bet I need to go on my way to target, but it is nice to have a bet that has a 53% chance to hit. I think we're okay getting to that bet there as well. And I will say it is very refreshing to have 3+ EV bets for a main slate on a single slate, which is something we really haven't had too much of, which again is something I like. And so let's just go ahead and take a peek at some of the other prop bets that we are getting in this game, guys. So for passing yards, again, if you like Trey McBride to have a good game, you could just end up going with Kyler Murray for over his passing yards. I guess I don't hate that. Let's go ahead and get into Sam Darnold if PrizePicks freaking lets me here. You see a standard line is set at 21.5. 221.5. I don't hate this one, but also not one that we need to go crazy with. That's kind of where I am at with all the receiving yards prop bets as well. JSN has been impressive thus far this year, don't get me wrong, but I do think the lines that we're getting for him are basically correct. I mentioned on my first look video yesterday that I didn't mind Cooper Kupp to have 4 receptions in this game. The Cardinals have given up the most receptions to opposing receivers as well, and so it is a very interesting spot. I do really like Cooper Kupp to get over 4 receptions, and let's actually take a deeper dive at this one as well. And really what I want to look at is going to be his receptions. So let's just click on that. Are we getting any big edges there for him at all? And so none of them are like very big plus edges here, guys. But I will say DraftKings to have him at 3.5 receptions. I do like the over. He is heavily likely to get this over, but it's not a terrible bet. We're only losing about 1.74% edge there, which again, that's just comparing the average odds against the DraftKings odds. So not a terrible bet there for us. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that really on any of these sites, but specifically on DraftKings, that's a better bet. And here we go, guys. So if we click on the pop-up, what we're going to see here is that, DraftKings has them at -137, whereas the average odds are -140. Now, What we're comparing is going to be the no juice odds for his over compared to the DraftKings line with the juice in there. Still not a bad bet, though. I like that bet. And then are there any other bets that we can get to here, guys? Whew, geez. This Trey Benson that they just added in here, rush receiving yard, that's pretty high there for PrizePicks. Yeah, other than that, I don't feel like we necessarily have any other bets. So let's go ahead and get into the bets of the day. Obviously, I try to mix in some other bets there for like DraftKings and Pick 6 and whatnot, but I'm going to show you guys my 4 bets that I like on PrizePicks the most. Already mentioned Trey Benson over his receiving yards on Underdog is my favorite bet there as well, but let's go ahead and get into that 4-slip bet on PrizePicks. First and foremost, so guys, if you guys are interested in betting on maybe Sleeper, who always is giving us discounts, guys, take advantage of that. If you guys are interested in betting there, head on over to 9to5, or sorry, click the link in the description below. We have a promo code going on there with them. Use the promo code 925 to get $50 when you spend your first $5. That's actually going to be the same promo code for PrizePicks if you guys have never signed up for that. Underdog is going to be 925 spelled out, which is going to be the same deal that they have going on there as well. Take advantage of those, guys. It's a simple and easy way to help out the channel there as well. Also worth calling out, if you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com, get access to all those tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Now let's go ahead and get into that bet slip for the day. All right, guys. So if we go ahead and just put this 4-slip bet, which are the top 4 bets that I like on the board, based off of the board, we're losing a slight edge there, 0.2%. It's always good to make you guys known of that, kind of the likelihood for the bet to hit. I always think that's important, but still not terrible there, guys, for, again, a 1-game slate to have 3 bets that are over 54% likelihood to hit. I'm okay taking that. Again, that's kind of the risk we assume when we're placing bets for a 1-game slate. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you guys would like access, again, to any of the tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com, get access to all the tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Thanks for being here, guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.